By the end of the Second World War, we were, in America, we were only 800,000. From 60 million to 800,000. So we were almost exterminated here in America.
Okay, dude, you ready?
I know words, I have the best words.
When I think of cultural appropriation, I usually think of like social justice warrior, political correct, just kind of BS a little bit. And a lot of it is. But recently I've been taking the time to reconnect with my own roots, and just as like a person that explores around the world, you know, I like to travel a lot. So like I want to be as compassionate and aware of this kind of stuff as possible. And I've been trying to view it objectively, which we should do that with everything. In a time where there's so much ethnic and racial tension going on, especially here in America, that it's no surprise that people are reconnecting and identifying with their roots from this new empowered kind of perspective, like being proud of their heritage and disconnecting from the force-fed ideas of European colonialism. And Europeans have came here and intentionally destroyed and wiped out indigenous wisdom and knowledge, and force-fed their idea of history as truth, viewing other cultures inferior while building an empire on top of them and exploiting it as much as you can, taking what you can exploit and fucking off what you can, destroying it and burying it. And Europeans by any means are not the only people to pillage and burn and wipe out civilizations, but it's the most relevant context to our experience. The Washington Redskins are a perfect example of indigenous culture just being pissed on. I mean, their mascot is literally a big caricature of a native. The Redskins, like, that's so offensive. You would never have a team called the Whiteskins and have some lengthy, pointy-nosed, blonde-haired, blue-eyed mascot. And like people wearing headdresses as a fashion statement. Could you imagine if indigenous people raided Europe and made them slaves and made white people lower class humans? And then years later, after completely destroying their culture and wiping out any meaning it had, painting your face white. Most white people like kind of chuckle when you make this kind of argument because they have no historical context or emotional kind of trauma to institutional racism, except for maybe like, I don't know, someone that has like super deep Irish heritage or something like that. And even the Irish are exploited. Like I think of like St. Patrick's Day and how commercialized and disconnected from its original meaning. Culture being stolen and commercialized is what I think appropriation is on the most like kind of on the most fundamental level. I would say that's the most disrespectful. Europeans came here and gave us new names and gave us a new way of life, which was just kind of putting natives in concentration camps called reservations. There's no secret, and even today, think of Thanksgiving, for example. They use that as the initiation of the most commercial weekend of the entire year. And then they create this fake loving backstory about how pilgrims and Indians had Thanksgiving together and why we should be thankful that we can be united and be thankful for our friends and our family. All of this is just to play on your emotions, to maximize profits, and to distort history so that the oppressor can justify stealing land and killing people. Like, this makes me think of something I see on YouTube all the time, and I don't want to call anyone out because it makes me cringe to like my core when I see spirituality being exploited for the same kind of reasons, for commercial reasons. I get it, Buddhism is cool, and it's like exotic, and like it's different, especially coming from the West, where our idea of spirituality is like going to church once a week. But people making videos like the dangers of meditation or why you should not open your third eye, just because you recognize that people think this stuff is cool and you see the commercial potential it has. It's just like, it's so disingenuous. These people are just painting Eastern wisdom in the lowest common denominator because they know that people are interested in connecting with themselves, especially now. They know that everyone is interested in it. and they know that there's money to be made in it, so they use these scammy marketing techniques. So instead of giving you some humble delivery which respects the culture and respects you as a viewer, and not trying to package something sacred in the most scummiest way possible, how to master meditation 100% of the time. These types of people are not interested in respecting the culture, and they're not interested in giving you a genuine message. We need genuine, raw people that are just going to be real about stuff, and it's not so like Americanized and capitalistic and everything through the lens of a commodity and how you can exploit it and make money and just be like a snake. You're not giving praise or expressing the culture in a truthful way or expressing it in a way that they intended it to be expressed. You are stealing culture and selling it. This is consumerism, not inspiration. I mean, fuck, man, come on. I'm no expectation to this by any means. I mean, we live in America, the consuming melting pot of the world. How can we not be victims of our own environment on some level, you know? We are a very selfish group of people here. And I totally agree with the idea that culture is an illusion and it's meant to propagate different hierarchies and social roles. That doesn't make it okay to piss all over someone's feelings or their what they identify as. And it doesn't give you the right to ignore all these historical traumas that have been being passed down just because you don't understand. You know, when you look around and you see all these indigenous people or black people or Muslim people feeling like they are being singled out and not given like the same sort of opportunities or being even looked at the same as Europeans or white people, then we have to pay attention. We can't say, oh, you guys are all crazy just because maybe you as a white person on an individual level aren't racist. You know, I know a lot of people aren't racist, but it's the foundation of our system. It's the foundation of this way of life. People's feelings aren't invalid because you come to the realization that everything is an illusion. You know, the world can't be solved with Buddhist riddles. You know, we can't all be living in a cave. If you watch me on YouTube, then you know I lived in India for a little bit and traveled around the Middle East, and I'm always in the jungles of Central America. And one thing I can say for sure is that people love seeing their culture expressed. Like if you go to India and you're a white person or any person with dreadlocks or something like that, you're gonna get much love from the sadhus. They'll be really happy to see that. Culture is meant to be shared and embraced. You know, that's the point of culture. But it's the way we choose to pass it down that makes it respectful or exploiting or appropriating. If you're wearing a bindi because you think it looks cool, you should understand the cultural significance of it. Then you can feel inspired by it, by knowing what it represents and feel the empowerment of that when you wear it and look good. Not so you can bedazzle yourself for Instagram. Same with meditation. If you want to learn about meditation, you don't need to set your camera on the timer and run over and get into position. You are missing the point of what this culture is trying to share with you. Anyways, was just my conclusion. We should never just assume that someone is appropriating a culture, because there's a lot of stuff that just really resonates to people in their core, and you know, we should never just like assume the worst. You don't want to take anything away from anybody that they truly are, that they find dear and cherish. I guess what it comes down to is stop trying to be cool and crack open your heart. Mamakuna, shamakuna, kayariri. My name is Dakota. Peace out and love.